There's an unusual passage in the Talmud in which the rabbis speculate on what are the first questions the heavenly court asks us after we die and appear before it. And I like to study this passage with people, and I'll ask them, what do you think the rabbis would think of the first questions we're asked? And people traditionally say, did you believe in God? Or did you keep the Sabbath? Or maybe did you fast on Yom Kippur? And they're taken aback to learn that the first question is, Nasata v'natata b'emunah. Did you carry out your business affairs honestly? The first proof of whether you've lived a religious life is not how you act towards God, but how what you've learned about God influences how you act towards other people. And so the proof text becomes that. And it's interesting that they thought this already 2,000 years ago, that that's what they should do. I know it because I've done a lot of research on Jewish humor and on humor in general. And every group gets hit in humor in one regard or another. The Irish, they claim that they drink too much, and we know that they're insulting stereotypes. Jews are often depicted in humor as being tricksters, and it's a terrible thing. The highest compliment you can pay a person in Hebrew is to call him a wise person, a chacham. But in Yiddish, the word chacham has the connotation of trickster. And so it's interesting that already 2,000 years ago, the rabbi said the proof of whether or not you have led a righteous life is were you righteous in your business dealings. Because it's not just assessing religiosity on the basis of what you do in synagogue Friday night and Saturday, or what you do on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It's basing itself on what you do every other day of the year. The proof of whether you're religious is not that you're praying on Saturday, but it's that you're acting honestly on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Sure. The second question the rabbis think that we're asked, or conjecture that we're asked, is, Kavati tim la Torah. Did you set aside time to study Torah? Why is that so important? I often speak with Jews who are passionately political. And given the general constellation of the American Jewish community, most Jews who are passionately political are liberal, and a distinct minority are conservative. And I'll ask people, both liberals and conservatives, do you ever study things in Jewish sources that challenge your liberalism or conservatism? And few people do, which leads me to think that for many people, their real religion is liberalism or conservatism, and what they then do is they find a verse here and a verse there from Judaism to reinforce what they believe in any case. That's why it's important to go back to the sources. The sources are not concerned with being so topical because they're thousands of years old. And those sources have a lot to teach us. And these sources have taught a great deal to the world. The most famous legal document in the Bible is, of course, the Ten Commandments, which has become the cornerstone of morality in the entire Western world. And yet, how many of you who are listening to me now can name those 10 Commandments? How many of you could name 5? And when you start trying to put them down, you'll find that they have a lot to teach you. If you want to have a chance after the show is over, go look up the book of Exodus, chapter 20, and see what the 10 Commandments are, and see how you can more easily incorporate them into your life. The third question is, Asakta b'priya ravia, did you try and create a family? Because if we were only concerned with our own lives, those first questions would be enough. But Judaism is concerned with perpetuating itself from generation to generation, and with offering things to our children. So what sort of people do you want to raise your children to be? Let me give you one example. If I could make one change in American life, this is what it would be. I'd want parents to reserve the highest praise of their children for when their children do kind acts. In general, children in the United States, in the Jewish world and the non-Jewish world alike, get their highest praise for one of 4 things. Their academic achievements, my son Sean is so brilliant. Their athletic accomplishments, their cultural achievements, their ability to play an instrument, and in the case of girls, their good looks. A child who gets his or her greatest compliments for one of those 4 things is happy. God knows we all need all the compliments that we can get. But there's also a sense that parental love is to some extent conditional on children's performances in those areas. I'm not saying people shouldn't be complimented in those areas, but what I'm saying is our priorities have to be reversed so that the highest praise goes for when a child does kind acts. Because you know what would happen if children got their highest praise when they did kind acts? We'd raise a generation of people who most liked themselves when they were doing kind deeds. And that's why that would have the capacity to transform society, to transform the world, and to create a generation of people who loved themselves and loved others. The fourth question is, Tzipita liyeshua, did you hope for the world's redemption? If we were only concerned with the micro, the individual, the first questions would be sufficient. Were you personally honest in business? Did you personally study Torah? Did you personally try and create a family? But the goal is to transform the world. And that's why we're asked, Tzipita liyeshua, did you hope for the world's redemption? What did you do to make the world a better place? Not just for your own family, but for others as well. Because the biblical teaching is that everybody is our family. Lefichach nivra, therefore was Adam created singly, then along with Eve, so that everybody descends from the same couple. Which means that everybody that we deal with in this world, our brothers, our cousins, we all share God's fatherhood in common. That's the basis of trying to bring about the world's redemption. And the reason I'd love to see Jewish life also organized along these four questions is because it'll have the capacity to cut across denominational lines. When people think of religious primarily in ritual terms, religion becomes divisive. When people see religion as the thing that challenges us to be more honest in our business dealings with others, to study the holy book so that we learn from it and from the holy books how to act, to be committed to the raising of our family, and then to work together on how to redeem the world, this will cut across denominational lines, and this has the hope of unifying the Jews as a people and of unifying humanity as a people, because the problems we face are problems faced by everyone, and the solutions that we can work out can really transform the world and make it a world in which human beings can live in the image of God.